Hello, I'm Kirsten Bay. I am the co-founder and CEO of Cysurance. Cysurance is an embedded cyber insurance platform distributed through security products and services. I came to this world first through banking and finance and then through cybersecurity. I've been in the cybersecurity world for over 18 years and started Cysurance with the belief that marrying these proper controls with insurance can help reduce risk, really, which means severity, frequency, and impact, which is how we think about things in insurance. And so our partnership with Cyvatar really helps us understand and rate those risks and help everyone have a better experience, both from an insurability perspective, as well as knowing that they can sleep better at night.
Thank you, Kirsten. I appreciate that. And our partnership has just been game changing for us. I'm so glad we found each other because, Cyvatar, our focus is on actually implementing these security controls that insurance companies are looking for. So it literally is a perfect marriage made in heaven. So I've got some questions I want to run through, just pick your brain, just so we can educate the market on cybersecurity insurance. So let's dive in. All right, so what's the state of cybersecurity insurance? I'm hearing that the policy costs are increasing and they're being canceled and not being renewed. What is happening out there?
Well, all of those things are true. Obviously, part of the problem is that we're in a hard market, and that the insurance definition of a hard market is where capital shrinks, where the availability of capital to write policies is reducing while the demand is increasing. And of course, part of that is because people are finally getting the memo that they should have cyber insurance. But really in the last 5 years, starting with the NotPetya attack in 2017, the state of cyber insurance became really different in that people had very significant claims. And then we had COVID, which made it even worse. And what we really saw was that the SMB particularly was highly targeted in the sense that not like an individual was targeted, but the category was targeted. And so therefore we had like quadruple digit increases in losses in this category, which means that costs continually are increasing, especially if you're in some of the high risk categories like healthcare or legal, finance, but that also non-renewals and cancellations are occurring primarily because these organizations can't certify and prove that they have the right security controls in place. And so therefore, we're in this really strange gap between proving those controls are there and the concern that they're not there. And so therefore, the trust factor is what's been broken.
Yeah, just to chime in, I was looking at this from the other side, on the incident response side, and I realized that if you just implemented these basic controls, these hacks didn't happen. So it's frustrating. So I built a company where we implement the basic controls so that the hacks don't happen. So again, that's so perfect for us to tie together. So what are the claim rates for cybersecurity insurance? I've heard one say like 60%, one say eventually over time is 90 to 100%. What does it look like?
Well, the most definitive answer you'll ever get regarding insurance about any question or topic is it depends. But the more defined answer is that for many carriers, it exceeded well over 100, if not 200%. It's important to understand what a loss ratio actually means, because this is what it's based on. Many people think that if I have $1 million policy and I have a $30,000 claim, that the loss ratio is 30%, or 3%, but that's not accurate. What it really is based on collected premium. And so much like health insurance or anything else, is that the more premium you collect, the more you can distribute risk. And so that's the challenge, is that what insurance companies are experiencing is they've collected a set amount of premium and the claims are exceeding the premium collected. And that's where you hear the 100, 200, 300%.
Wow, I always learn so much when I talk to you. So that's really informative. Are insurance companies losing money? I think that ties into it.
Yes, yes. There was a long period of time where they were making money, and then all of that money went away. And so it's interesting because you're starting to see the curves drop down a little bit in terms of losses. But when you think about like companies who are below 25 million in annual revenue, when you look at the 8 years that they have of data between, say, like 2012 and 2020 or 2012 and 2022, you saw like a 1,600% increase in claims for organizations who are under 25 million in annual revenue. That's dropped down a little bit, but that means we're at 1,500%, which is still very, very high. And that's what is trying to be normalized right now, and really trying to understand what is the actual normal benchmark.
That just speaks to why we need a partner to solve this problem. I love it. And again, looking at stats, and anybody can go to PurpleSec. I love their website. They have amazing stats, but the number of security breaches increased 27% last year. I know COVID and pandemic and all that had something to do with it. What is happening out there?
Well, this is an interesting stat because it really is a question about what type of security breaches, because there are numbers like specific to ransomware or breach notification where that number has a 0 on the end of it as well. So the why is this happening? Well, still basic controls. A very good example of this is, and this is a case that's being cited frequently right now, is Travelers sued one of their insureds because they certified that they had multi-factor authentication in place. This was after, by the way, they already had one ransom attack. They had a second ransom attack. And when that investigation happened and they were now insured by Travelers, it turns out that they implemented an MFA at one point, like an email, but not across all of their servers. So they didn't have complete implementation of MFA, which was what caused and allowed for that second ransom attack to occur. They're now in a lawsuit to claw back not only that insurance program, but also the money that was paid to that organization. So the why is this happening is because the broad implementation of the right controls, having EDR in every one of your endpoint detection and response, for those who don't know what that is, on all endpoints, things like that, it's insufficient. And that's why these things are still happening.
And I think we have to evolve as a cybersecurity industry and continue to educate everybody, even the regular just customer base, because what's happening out there is we all are programmed. When I get out of my car, I close and lock my door, roll up the windows, right? If I did not do those things and then my car got broken into or something got stolen out of it, I'm like, oh, because I left the window down. But in cybersecurity, when people get hacked and they don't implement MFA, they're like, well, why did they get hacked? Well, you did not close your door, let your window up. I mean, it's those basics that we have to do.
100%. And also to that, and also to this question here that you're going to ask next, it's related also to what people think is going to happen to them. And many people don't think this is going to happen to them. And so part of it is being aware of that, but also it can happen to anybody. And so we have to have proper implementation. You have to lock your door every time.
They don't think it's going to happen to them, but I think that is absolutely changing. And I think it's also another challenge with what the cybersecurity has done, because you'll hear it's not a matter of, I always screw this up, if you're going to get attacked, but when you get attacked or whatever. Like, I think that is so wrong and flawed, because you don't have to get attacked if you do the basics. And I think we're educating people that, oh, we're just going to get attacked, there's nothing we can do, and just lay down, which is completely broken.
Well, absolutely. And for years and years, we have always talked about this, we as an industry, do we just alert or do we actually stop attacks? And I candidly, I think one of the real challenges of our industry has been that we've all been so marketing driven. And the truth of the matter is, point solutions are not the answer to the problem. It is full implementation of an infrastructure that people need. And it's also having services potentially, or a group of people who can manage and understand. There's massive alert fatigue to this point, this question. We have a blinky light problem in cybersecurity, but part of it is that we really need to be able to thwart attacks through defense in depth. And that really is back to what you do, which is looking at the right controls that can help limit movement of the adversary across network, so that one can identify that someone potentially has gotten in, but also to stop their movement so that it just becomes an incident, but not a breach. And there's a distinct difference between those 2 points.
Yeah, you nailed it. And I'll just give a history lesson after being in cybersecurity for 27 years. And I've run penetration testing teams and done penetration testing. And I've run, SOC and threat hunting and incident response teams. And I got to tell you, it's fun. Pen testing is fun. Threat hunting is fun. But what is not as much fun is being, hey, I'm the patch management person or I'm the remediation person. It's not fun. So I think it's a cultural thing within the cybersecurity industry where everybody wants to do the cool stuff, but the ugly, dirty things that need to be done isn't being done. So I've created a company that is focused on doing the ugly stuff, but it's what needs to be done to actually stop these attacks. SMBs, I know you touched on it earlier. How are they affected by what's happening out there?
Well, there are a variety of reasons and how, right, they're affected by this. One is that they're targets of opportunity because they don't have the same types of controls or the same types of expertise or anybody, right, managing security for them. And so that's one component. The other component is that many SMBs often do not think that they could be a target. So and the last is, okay, I'm an SMB and I totally believe everything you've just said to me. Where do I start? And I think there's also this, they get stuck in implementing or purchasing a product because there are so many security products and so many ways to potentially solve this problem that the where do I begin question is where they stop. And so I think that those three elements really drive the pain points the SMBs have felt in this market. And so then all of a sudden, cyber insurance has become almost cost prohibitive for them because the increase has been so great that now people are weighing whether they should buy it, even though they should, because everyone should be insured. And so it's really not even a three-legged stool, it's like a five-legged stool of challenges, I think, that impact SMBs particularly.
Yeah, and to that point, I'll give you a couple points. But one, I had a bunch of SMBs come to me and like, I didn't think we could afford cybersecurity, so I just did nothing. But I ran into you guys, and so now I know I can afford it. And now with our partnership, they actually can afford cybersecurity insurance as well. So it ties in. The other analogy when I was listening to you talk at the beginning, it comes to mind if I'm a purse snatcher. And am I gonna, steal, the Rock's, man purse, or am I gonna steal it from the little old lady? And SMBs are kind of like the little old lady, like you're gonna take the low hanging fruit, the easy target, and that's literally what the hackers are doing, unfortunately.
It's true, and the other thing I think that is important to note is that SMBs are so focused on their business. I mean, we know this, right? That sometimes it's like, how many things can I focus on at one time? And I think that these types of services can really help people kind of take it off their plate in terms of I'm going to manage it on a daily basis, but also be able to focus on the things that really can help them drive their business, knowing that they're protected.
Yeah. Just to tie into that, I know we were just talking about our businesses and how we outsource HR using PEOs, right? This is the exact same thing. Like, I don't want to focus on HR and payroll and everything else. I just need it done. And the same thing needs to be applied to cybersecurity and cybersecurity insurance. So I'm curious if any particular sectors or verticals are being hit the hardest by hackers and really need insurance.
Healthcare is one big one, right? Because they've been victims of many types of ransom attacks and their losses are very high. Not only because of the personally identifiable information they have in the healthcare record, but also the breach notification costs and also the potential impact on life. So that's one area where I have heard with some instances that we had hospitals who had an increase of 300% per $1 million of coverage. So you can imagine how much their premiums went up. Legal and finance are also areas that have experienced tremendously high incidence of attacks, as well as increases in premium for the same reasons. The hackers are going after them because they have data that they can leverage and extort. And also what's translating across that is this extortion concept, which is leading to high breach remediation costs. And so that's notification, it's forensics. And so you have what might be, we'll just pick a number, $100,000 ransom attack turns into a significant loss, $3 to $5 million, because we had to do notification, investigation, and so on. And so it's N times the cost of the original incident. And this is really what's driving both the increase in premium as well as the attacks on these types of sectors.
That is so in line. We recently at Cyvatar did some analysis of what within the small and medium-sized business market, what really the verticals we should be looking at, and we looked at our customer base. It's financial, it's legal, it's healthcare, right? And those are the ones that, really have been hit the hardest and really have been consuming our solutions. I love this. And this is really what I'm hearing when I'm out talking and speaking at conferences, that the cybersecurity insurance industry will save cybersecurity, period. Because we've been out doing the cool stuff and detecting and responding, but we haven't implemented any preventative controls. And one of my talks, I talk about, I'm dating myself here, but you think about the automobile industry and the preventative controls that have been put in place. And it scares me, thank God I'm still here, that my mom took me home in her lap. She didn't have a seatbelt on and I was not in the car seat in the 70s, okay? That's like frightening as a parent, right? But now we have preventative controls, so many around automobile, security. And I think those things need to be done for cybersecurity. Is this true? Is this what you're hearing as well?
I believe it is true. I mean, yes. And I think that one of the things that insurance is doing is helping to quantify, one, the return on investment for making a security purchase, two, helping to identify areas where people need to have the appropriate controls that make the biggest difference in reducing that risk curve. And so we're finally at a point where we're placing the economic indicator in place to what really matters in terms of how you secure your environment and what the residual risk piece is, which is the insurance component. How much am I laying off in that risk transferring? And insurance should be about risk transfer. And for quite some time, it feels like, and I'll say feel, that people were purchasing a cheap insurance policy for cyber insurance and not really investing in cybersecurity. And now we're trying to flip that over. And the other thing that I think it does for the security professional, whether you're in a big company or a small company, trying to make sense of how to influence decisions that really impact the operational digital core of your business, these are areas where insurance is helping to drive a very different and economic conversation, not just that blinky light indicator conversation, which is, I think, where people get really lost with cybersecurity products.
Okay, so why do you think continuous preventative controls have not been enforced before now?
Well, I really wish I had the answer to that question. It's the reason why we founded our company, because one of the things that I thought from the beginning, coming from finance, one, to cyber, and still seeing this significant gap between technology implementations and true risk management, is that we really globally needed to orient more towards who's delivering infrastructure. Why on earth would I ask an individual insured to certify their digital infrastructure when most of them outsource that infrastructure? And I think that's really the disconnect. And so for us, what we really wanted to do was align with security products and providers to draw the onus not only back to that provider, but also to align that provider with their customer to understand what is really in place. And so it is the way forward. And I think it's interesting with cybersecurity and cyber insurance, because I think they're much more intertwined than any other insurance offering that's out there, right? The dependency between technology and insurance is so tight with cyber, and it's different in other types of insurance. And so I think that's one of the areas where there's maturing and the attestation, yes, I do these things, can't be part of that. It really has to be the trust but verify. And I think that's really where we're going with this.
Yeah, I'll just chime in with my thoughts because I'm very close to this as well. And I feel like it's a religious debate within cybersecurity. And the answer, like you said earlier, in insurance and also in cyber, it depends, right? I've never said, okay, you can 100% prevent everything, right? But I'll tell you, I'm gonna do everything that I possibly can to prevent. But I've known people like, well, we're not gonna try to prevent, we're just gonna detect and respond, meaning that I'm not gonna actually apply the patch as quickly as possible. I'm not gonna make sure I have multi-factor. I'm not gonna block on my endpoint. I'm just gonna alert when that happens. I think we've all realized that the alert fatigue you get from that and not fixing the root cause of the problem is overwhelming, okay? And if I'm a small or medium-sized business, I don't have a team to respond to those alerts, right? I mean, I don't have anybody, so I need it fixed. And one of the things I've been talking about publicly a lot is that small and medium-sized businesses cannot afford to detect and respond, right? You know, a large company, yeah, you got a whole team of people to look at, but I'm an SMB, I need it fixed. And so that, I think, is going to help drive the change here that's coming. So I think you nailed this one, but how does a partnership with Cyvatar and Cysurance help solve this massive problem?
Well, it allows us to have that verification capability. And part of what we as Cysurance are trying to do is take away that attestation. We want to start with proof. And so the way that we find the easiest path to the proof category is to work with organizations like Cyvatar, where we know what that implementation looks like, and we can certify that implementation. And the tools that Cyvatar have that around just looking at what's happening in the internal environment, even the free tools that you have, I think are fantastic, because those are the types of things that we can use that are true representations of what that network truly looks like. And so those are the areas that really help us make decisions, so much so that it allows us to offer these turnkey insurance programs that are really well priced, but also don't require underwriting. And that's because we pre-underwritten that risk. And those are the things I'm really excited about. It also takes away that fatigue from having to fill out these gigantic long forms, and really allows us to focus on what really matters for someone's environment, to help them know that they can sleep better at night, because no one wants this to happen, right? We have insurance because we need it just in case. We'd rather just not have it occur.
You nailed it. Like I love, I don't even have to go through the bullets on the slide here. That's exactly what we've done here. Implementing TVM and SEM and improving, whether we implement it or they have it themselves, that you have MFA in place. And I've really have checked with, you know, the pricing there that we ever offer is much better than a lot out there, because we've done the homework. We're doing the things that you have to do to secure the environment. So Kirsten, I really thank you for joining us today. And I'm excited about the partnership and what we're going to do together in 2023.
Me too. Thank you so much for having me. It's always a joy to spend time with you.